Your life begins in a butcher's house in a cramped port district of Marseille in the early 18th century. If your expectation upon hearing plague doctor is a learned physician in fine black robes healing the sick with advanced medical knowledge, you are completely wrong. In reality, it was people like your father who took on this job. Not real doctors, because real doctors refused to go anywhere near the plague at all. Your father was a butcher who knew how to cut a body apart, and that turned out to be enough to get recruited by the city council. Marseille at this time was the busiest port city on the French Mediterranean, where merchant ships from the Levant, including one called the Grand Saint-Antoine, docked carrying silk, coffee, and, without anyone realizing it, rat fleas carrying Yersinia pestis. You were born not long before that ship arrived, bringing a plague that would kill nearly half the city's population within 2 years. At age 8, your father started bringing you to the slaughterhouse to learn basic anatomy, not to butcher animals, but to prepare you for work he believed would always be needed as long as people lived crowded together in filth. You learned to identify organs, to gauge how long a body could last without blood, and, most importantly, you learned not to be disgusted. Disgust, your father said, was a luxury reserved for people who didn't have to work. At age 13, the plague arrived in Marseille through the harbor. The city council scrambled to find anyone willing to handle the sick and the dead, because every trained physician in the city had already fled to the countryside or flatly refused. Your father signed a contract with the city, not out of a sense of calling, but because the pay was far higher than a lifetime of butcher's wages. You tagged along as an unofficial apprentice, helping mix remedies and maintain the equipment. The costume you wore was not artistic fantasy. The long leather coat, coated in beeswax, covered your body from neck to ankle so that no bodily fluid from a patient could touch your skin. Goatskin gloves and boots, a wide-brimmed hat, and, most recognizable of all, the long beaked mask filled with dried lavender, mint, cinnamon, myrrh, and a vinegar-soaked sponge. The medical theory of the time, called miasma, held that disease spread through foul-smelling air. The long beak was designed so that the air you breathed would already be filtered through fragrance before it reached your nose. The theory was completely wrong, but by accident, the leather coat and the distance kept by the long wand in your hand actually protected you from flea bites and bodily fluid splashes, the real mode of transmission, which humanity would not understand for another 2 centuries. Your job was not to heal. The city council paid you for 3 things: counting and recording the number of sick and dead every day for official reports, witnessing the wills of the dying because real notaries refused to enter plague houses, and performing basic autopsies to confirm cause of death. You used a long wand to lift a patient's clothing without touching them, checking for buboes, the swollen lymph nodes at the neck, armpit, or groin, the clearest sign of the disease. At age 16, your father died, not from the plague, but because his heart stopped while he was examining the 7th body of the day. The city council offered his contract to you. You accepted it because there was no other job that paid as well, and because you were the only one left in your family who knew how to wear that coat correctly. By age 20, your house had become an informal quarantine house. You were not allowed to speak to neighbors without keeping your distance, not allowed into church during regular service hours, and your coins, before they could be spent, had to be soaked in vinegar in front of the merchant before they would accept them. You were the person the city needed most and avoided most at the same time. Children would run when they saw the silhouette of your beak from a distance. Mothers shut their windows. You ate alone every night, in a house marked with a white chalk cross on the door, the official sign that whoever lived there worked with the plague. At age 24, you faced a decision no contract had ever prepared you for. A wealthy merchant family bribed you with gold coins not to record their youngest child's infection in the official report, because a reported house would be nailed shut by city officers for 40 days with everyone inside it, a practice called cuarentena, the origin of the modern word quarantine. You knew that if you refused the bribe, the family would simply lock the child away themselves, letting the plague spread to the other siblings with no report at all. You took the bribe and still quietly reported it to the city council 3 days later, late enough to give the family a brief window to hide, soon enough that you wouldn't be seen as negligent if anyone asked. You never felt it was the right decision. You only felt it was the one decision you could live with. At age 30, the plague in Marseille began to fade. But you were still summoned to smaller towns nearby that had only just been struck, because your reputation as someone who had survived 15 years of plague work made you seem experienced. Even though you were still not a licensed physician, you began training other young plague doctors, teaching them the same things your father had taught you. Don't be disgusted. Keep your distance with the wand. And never remove the coat in front of a patient, no matter how hot the weather. At age 40, your body began collecting the bill for 2 decades of breathing inside a mask thick with incense smoke and heavy fragrance. Your lungs were chronically damaged, your voice permanently hoarse, and the skin around your eyes blistered from years of friction against the mask's glass lenses. Ironically, you never caught the plague yourself. Not because of any special immunity, but because the leather coat and the distance you kept, things you did purely out of fear, turned out to be scientifically correct 200 years before that science was ever discovered. Your death came at age 58, not from the plague, not from the townspeople's riots that had nearly turned on you more than once over the years for being seen as a bad omen, but from your own lungs finally giving out on a winter morning. The city council, as a final honor rarely given to someone in your profession, paid for a proper burial, something most of the people whose deaths you had recorded over the years never received. Hundreds of years later, historians would write at length about the Great Plague of Marseille, about the ship Grand Saint-Antoine, about the quarantine policies born from this disaster that would become the foundation of modern public health systems. They would rarely mention the names of the beaked, masked doctors who walked alone from house to house, recording the numbers that would one day become statistics in history books, making sure that, in the middle of a dying city, someone was still keeping record that they had existed at all.